tutare ture mangalam shri mahapani swaha om tare ture mangalam shri mahapani swaha om tare ture mangalam shri mahapani swaha om tare ture mangalam shri mahapani swaha.
Welcome everyone to the Lama Live livestream event of Lama Tsultrim Allione. My name is Drimé and it's my pleasure to be here with you today. And today we are very fortunate to have as our special guest Dr. Elissa Epel. Elissa Epel is an international expert on stress, well-being, and optimal aging, and a best-selling author of the Telomere Effect, and now the Stress Prescription. She's a professor in the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences at the University of California, San Francisco, where she is vice chair of psychology and directs the UCSF Aging Metabolism Emotions Center. She studies how psychosocial and behavioral factors such as meditation and positive stress can slow aging and focuses on climate wellness. At the end of our gathering, you will have the opportunity to make an offering of dana in gratitude for our time together today, and I will talk more about it closer to the end of our event. Before I turn it over to Lama Tsultrim and Dr. Epel, I would like to share with you two upcoming programs being held by Taramandala in celebration of the winter solstice, which will provide an opportunity for us to sit in the great mystery as we feel the earth turn back toward the light. At this important seasonal juncture, we will take the opportunity to not only turn inward, but also outward towards the many forms of life with whom we share this remarkable planet. Join us for the Nurturing the Unseen, Buddhism and the More Than Human World virtual retreat and winter solstice celebration from December 16th to 18th, where Eric Jampa Anderson will guide us through the vast and fascinating web of the more than human world, with focus on the teachings from Machik Labdran and Yutok Yonten Gonpo. This retreat is open to everyone, and it's a highly special opportunity that shouldn't be missed. I'll be posting the link in the chat shortly, and it will also be a great preparation for the very last program of the year, so the online winter solstice ceremony with Lama Tsultrim Allione on December 21st. Lama invites you to celebrate the return of the light with a deep meditation, attuning to the turning of the season, letting go of the old year and welcoming the new cycle in which we will release what we are letting go of from the past year, while also setting intentions for the next solar cycle. All are welcome, but you need to register in order to participate in this extra special event. And now it's my honor to give you Lama Tsultrim Allione and Dr. Elissa Epel. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Good morning, everyone, and greetings, Elissa. Great to be with you.
Wonderful.
We met in Costa Rica just about a year ago now, and I led Elissa in Feeding Your Demons, and she was amazed by it, asked me to teach it to others. And so we had a small group there, and then we became very close somehow immediately. And I'm so excited to have you here. And your book, The Telomere Effect, has had such an impact in the world in terms of understanding aging. And now you have Stress Prescription coming out December 27th. And so I actually thought today to ask you to lead us in the opening meditation that I usually lead, since you have in the stress prescription various different meditations. I thought it would be great for the audience to experience some of those.
Thank you, Lama. It's an honor to lead your audience, which I've been a part of. And it's an incredible feeling to connect through you to all of us across the world in so many different countries. Welcome, everyone. So my focus has always been on understanding dukkha, or stress, and especially how we stress, about things that happen. And the meditation I'm going to lead is about noticing embodied stress, how we carry it in the body, even when we're not aware of that, and how the feeling of uncertainty or an uncertain future is part of that unconscious stress that we can shine a light on and release and try to be comfortable with. So for posture, I would like to, many of you sit upright, or you might lie down in a receptive position. And I'd just like us to notice how much our body posture influences our state of mind. So when we lean forward, we're really grasping at the future, wanting to predict the future, control the future, know what's next. Our mind is worrying. It's a very engaged, active position that's often swirling with not being present. And so you might try, if not upright, you might try reclining for this, because when we lean back, we're also telling our body that we are grounded here in this present moment and can meet experience as it comes to us rather than reaching out for it. So I'd like to invite you to all lean back, get comfortable in any way you can, and gently close your eyes as we begin to let our mind come into our body. Let's start by just noticing how our breathing is at this moment, the quality of our breathing as we inhale and exhale. Now let's turn our attention to our body, starting from the crown of our head. And like a flashlight, just notice and become aware of where you might be holding tension, pressure, tightness. Around the eyes, jaw, shoulders. As you scan down, you might release and exhale and lean back when you find areas of tightness. Belly, arms, are your hands a little bit clenched? Can they open just a bit more? Buttocks, legs, and our feet. Let's give them some attention. You might wiggle your toes, increasing our awareness of our body and how we're holding it. Now let's check in with our mind and reflect on these questions. Wherever your mind takes you is the right answer. What's on your mind as you think about the day, the week, or even the future in general? What's on your mind right now? What are you feeling uncertain about? Maybe worrying or just a vague, subtle discomfort. What's behind it? Can you identify expectations, tightness or clinging to how things will go? Let's look at that expectation or that prediction or wanting of the future. And let's try to loosen that as we loosened our body, breathing in, down to the belly, and breathing out slowly and fully, releasing expectations of the future. Now we've named this uncertainty of the future that we don't pay attention to, but lives in our body. As we've named this, let's celebrate it. Let's loosen around it and find delight in the inherent uncertainty of life, of what will arise, the good and the bad, the unknown, the unpredictable. Let's try to, as we breathe in and release, relax our nervous system 5% more with long, slow exhales. See if you feel spaciousness around this mystery, a mystery that unfolds with time. In this moment, there is certainty. This body, this being together. You can remind yourself, right now, you are safe. It's okay to relax. Your cells are listening to these thoughts, and they love safety and ease. With your exhalations, they are restoring and feeling the same ease in the way the cell loves to. Rejuvenation, restoration. And when you notice thoughts of the future, lean back and just say, not now. Right now, we are here together in this moment. The release, the ease of a long, slow exhalation can help ground us to this moment. You might feel into your body's energy. Your cells are creating a buzz of warm energy, and you can just picture and feel into that subtle body energy and just ask, what does it feel like right now? Is it a buzz? Is it a quiet, gentle hum? Is it so faint you need silence to feel it? The sage Mirabai described this earthy body energy as a beautiful garden of flowers, blooming, rainbows, peacocks, the beauty of this body, its liveliness. This energy that actually connects us outside of our body. And we can allow ourselves to feel the love in that energy. You might, if it feels good, put your hands on your heart in loving kindness mudra, or anywhere on your body that feels supportive. And let yourself feel the reflection of that warm, kind, buzzing energy and the love that connects this in your body and sharing and projecting outward. Not just local, but non-local to all of us across the world. Boundless, bright, luminous. And as we come back to open eyes, let's continue to feel both the ease of this inward gaze with jolts, with sounds, with whatever arises externally, knowing we have this deep, still presence, this buzzing, loving energy that we can feel. And this ease around this uncertain future that will always be beyond our grasp and control. And just hugging that uncertainty and releasing into it can help us keep this ease in our nervous system, in our heart, in our mind. And when you're ready, we can come back to the light of the screen where we can see each other. And if you feel like typing in any one word or just a few words for a feeling, a state, a thought right now that we're all together in this state, I would love to see.
Thank you, Elissa. Michael says, grateful. Floating. Nice.
Thank you. I can't actually see the words, but I'm glad to know.
If you click on the right on the chat and then on comment.
Oh,
Yeah.
hello. Thank you. Acceptance. Yes.
You know, I was thinking about how this time of year is so filled with expectations around the holidays, and some of it's happy expectations of seeing family. But like for me, I have my kids and my grandkids coming, and I'm trying to think of what I need to buy for food and figure out beds and where they're all going to sleep. And so I think for a lot of people, there's a combination of it's the holidays and it's stressful, or it can have a lot of different sort of overlays. Also, many people didn't have happy holidays when they were growing up. And so the holidays can be really triggering. And so I'm wondering, this meditation is in your book, is it?
There's a 3-minute version in chapter 1, which is about, I call it catch and release, which is notice, set your phone alarm for 3 times a day and just notice how we are holding something and we can name it and release it. And uncertainty is very vague, but we are all doing uncertainty stress all the time. Yeah. It's just, so it's good to become aware of that. And you're absolutely right that we are in the next 2 months of expectations and demands on top of everything of how things should go, of the perfect meal, the perfect gift, of finishing work deadlines before the holidays, and then making plans. And so really protecting our attention is so important right now. Having periods, we're all distracted already, right, by the news. And now we're going into the season, which we know is really hard for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Loneliness, family conflict, those extra demands. So the checking in and the breaks, the meditative breaks, are critical, but also that blocking off from having breaks from media and from our phone. Mm-hmm. I don't, it's addictive to stay connected, and it's also toxic, especially when we're really surrounded by multitasking. So if we're at work and we're feeling like I should, I got a Black Friday message, I need to shop, they're telling me now or never, all of those things are really grating on our attention. And monotasking and unitasking is unbelievably beautiful. We can feel peace and ease and flow states just by allowing ourselves to engage deeply in one thing.
So you're a scientist essentially, and you teach at UCSF and research there. Is that right? How you would describe yourself as a scientist? Or?
Yes. I mean, I am, and I like to say, a contemplative scientist. I do research and I do some teaching. And one of the lessons I've learned is how, rather than wearing a, Western research hat, that we want to really seek knowledge from different sources. And so contemplative wisdom and contemplative science have been such gifts that have changed my life and made research so much more meaningful, to really be studying, interventions, for example, different meditation interventions, and trying to understand the mind through the lens of experience rather than just what we can measure. And as you know, Lama, I'm so excited about Feed Your Demons from a research perspective, because you have crystallized and manualized an experience we can have that is so powerful, changing our embodied emotional state. And the way you've done it with the visual is that if anyone listening has not been led through Feed Your Demons, I know there are opportunities on the Tara Mandala website. There it is. And the power of using the mind. Well, the problem that we're addressing, we all have, which is we carry trauma, we carry problems that stress us out, even when we're not aware of it. And we're not aware of it often because we push it away. It's threatening, and we don't want to be, it's very easy to try to live with it by distraction and repression and suppression. And those work for very short times. They don't work for a lifetime, right? So the ability to visualize and work with emotion and transform it to a constructive force, has to do with from the demon to the ally, is absolutely brilliant. I can't wait to study it. In the book, I talk about other ways to transform emotions. They're a bit less concrete, but one of them is using the power of our beliefs. When we feel all of this threat stress, it feels absolutely horrible. We all know what it feels like to feel like we're in a situation that we're going to have, tremendous loss, humiliation, embarrassment, something we care about deeply is at risk. And so we have this threat response, and we need that for short periods to cope. But the problem is that we tend to carry that around often, and that causes more toxic chronic stress on the body. And so when we're in the midst of feeling that threat stress, one thing that we can do is use our ground into beliefs about power, efficacy, resources, support. I list a lot of options, and our beliefs can shift and change the stress response. But it's work and effort. It's like a mantra. We need to have it ready. We need to recite it and let ourselves believe it. And then in the moment, it can actually change the stress response. And so that's a kind of on call in the moment or just in time intervention. The feeding your demons is so different because you could do it once and you could feel a sense of release and peace about the major issue in your life. And I did it, as you know, that happened for me. And it's exciting. It's using our amazing mind body in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, and someone in the chat asked if you had done a study of feeding your demons, and she hasn't yet, but we hope to do that in the future. And there has been one that's about to be published by Dr. Eve Ekman and Philippe Golden. And this is a study that was done now a couple of years ago, but it's just getting published now. And it shows very promising results in terms of how feeding your demons works, and that it does work for anxiety, depression, and addiction. Those are the three things that were studied. And so that's going to be really exciting when that study comes out. And so this is something that maybe you can talk about because you're kind of in this edge of research versus experience, and how getting these studies done has impacted the ability to use things like meditation in settings that maybe before it wouldn't have been accepted in. But then there's a study and all of a sudden it's acceptable, and you're really working in that world. So I'd love to hear what you've seen and maybe the last 10 years in terms of that shift. And I'd also like to hear, kind of tagged on to that, but slightly different question, how does this book relate to the telomere effect? Is it a natural sort of development? And if so, how? And yeah, just how do those work together?
Two big, great, juicy questions. I'll take the second one first, which is easier. The Telomere Effect that I wrote with Nobel laureate Elizabeth Blackburn was a big book summarizing 15 years of research on understanding how we control our own aging, the ways that we can speed up or slow down our aging. And we particularly focus on telomeres. They're a window into our aging process. They're caps at the ends of our chromosomes that are very sensitive to the biochemical conditions. When it gets too stressful, when psychological stress, physiological stress, the telomeres shut down the cell, it dies, or it becomes too old and can't replicate. Because we don't want cancer. We don't want bad things to happen. With too much free radicals, we can get DNA mutations and other problems. So the telomeres, in a way, protect us from cancer and from too much stress damaging the cell by killing the cell or inactivating it. Telomeres get shorter with age, and when they're too short, the cell can't replenish and keep dividing. And so they're really important to protect. We want to keep them long and stable during our life. And so we review a lot of the lifestyle things like an anti-inflammatory or antioxidative stress diet that is good for telomeres. But the big story there, in my view, is that living with stress every day and not managing it, not realizing that it's a dominant force in our day and it's shaping all of our health behaviors, is really related to telomere shortening, trauma, chronic stress. And part of that is that it's shaping both our biochemistry to be more toward aging, but it's also sacking our health behaviors, exercise, poor diet, poor sleep. So it's the one thing, if we were to choose one New Year's resolution, our emotional well-being shapes everything. And so just adding something to your day, like a mini meditation, or there are other ways to nudge stress to be a weaker force or non-dominant force, and really focus on amplifying joy and ease. So after we wrote The Telomere Effect, what spoke to people the most, we already know about what's good for our lifestyle, but what spoke to them most was really realizing that we can transform our stress response. And that was only one chapter in the book. And I provide that chapter for free on my website, elissaepel.com. But there's so much more we can do besides just trying to move from a threat to a challenge response once we're already stressed. And we can talk about what some of the strategies are, but the book, instead of being a big, long science book, it's a really small, practical book. And it just goes through, try one thing a day for 7 days. Of course, it could take 7 weeks or 7 months. It doesn't matter. But if you even just adopt one habit, it can help us manage stress and really transform it into an ally. That's kind of the idea behind it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's great. It's very practical.
Yeah. So it's kind of a fold out from the cell aging book of, and here are all these things that science have shown. And so many of them are informed by Buddhist wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
The whole idea of the big idea, the worldview, the mindset of understanding that we don't control outcomes. We control conditions, or we can try to control conditions, but not what really ends up happening. We don't control the externals in our life very much at all. And just realizing that we can do our best and not be attached to outcomes is a relief. It's stress reducing. And so this focus on even uncertainty, realizing the future is always 100% uncertain, and it always has been. And now we all use that word so much because of the pandemic. We see the uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
That alone is a mindset shift of, I can relax around uncertainty. And I've started measuring it in my research because it's so important. And people who can flex, who can tolerate uncertainty, who don't tense up if they don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, they have much less anxiety, PTSD, depression from the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's helpful. So really, it seems like what you did was take that chapter in the Telomere Effect and then expand on it and create practical solutions or suggestions for people to implement, things that would actually strengthen those little guys on the end of our DNA.
Everything's related to telomeres.
Yeah. So what about that other question that I asked you about what you've seen happen with these studies that have come up, I think, starting with the mindfulness, stress reduction, and so on. And how has it made it possible to be in an academic environment and include these kinds of things? It used to be like, you can't talk about that in academia, right?
Right. Yes, it's a really great point how important research is. It's been my North Star, science, and it has been helpful to bring in practices and show their effectiveness in medical settings, in cost savings, in things that the business world cares about, productivity. Those have been the vectors, the pathways that we have brought mindfulness to be mainstream, showing the neuroscience, showing how it can change brain responses to stress or thickening of the neocortex. So those have been very exciting. I feel like we're beyond those. And now we need to go into showing how we can disseminate them in systems because we have so much knowledge about how much they work. Let me give you some examples. We now know that mindfulness-based meditation programs like MBSR can be as effective as drugs for anxiety, Lexapro, new study by Elizabeth Hoji. We know that it can help with blood pressure control. We know that with an amped up therapy for using mindfulness-based cognitive therapy can be just as effective as antidepressants or more. So they don't have the side effects. So why don't we use this knowledge? For me, I'm always looking at the body and I want to see what is it doing that we can't do with drugs. And the best example of this is inflammation. We really want to keep our inflammation low as we age because it can creep up. We call that aging, especially with depression and chronic stress. We don't have a drug to control inflammation in our bodies. We certainly don't. Nothing that's not risky and with side effects that make it so that we're not taking we're not all taking anti-inflammatory drugs because we don't have one that's safe. But we do have a method that's safe, and it is mind-body interventions, mind-body practices, meditation, yoga, qigong. These have been shown over and over in meta-analyses to reduce inflammation, to reduce the gene expression for all the inflammatory related genes. That's amazing to me. Why aren't we using that more?
Yeah. And I think that you have also in this upcoming book, the relationship with nature as a stress reductor. Can you talk about that a little bit? I'm certainly aware of it in myself, and forest bathing has become a kind of thing recently, but I'm interested in the research around that. What has been found?
That was my absolute funnest chapter to write. And just the amount of research showing the green effect, showing urban greenery or wild nature immersion is affecting our thoughts, our anxiety, perceived stress, and our attention span, our ability to solve problems, how we do on cognitive tasks, and of course, our stress regulation system. So blood pressure goes down. And like you said, it's been medicalized. So like in New Zealand, they write green prescriptions. If you have high blood pressure, go out in nature 3 times a week, 45 minutes, and just walk slowly. And that can reduce your blood pressure.
Wow.
And so, it's been, and of course, that is a way to get it to be commonly used. And the rural urban effect is huge. So like birds and honeybees that live in the city versus the country are so much more stressed out. They have shorter telomeres, more oxidative stress. And us too. It's like, it's not rocket science to understand that our minds are taxed. We are more vigilant when we're being bombarded by city noise, city stimuli versus being in nature. And the nature effect, it feels a bit magical. There's so many parts to it. There's awe and wonder, and how that can really shrink our big ruminative mind to be understanding we're just a tiny piece of being connected to this huge, vast, expansive world.
That's so wonderful. It puts into, I guess, science the experience that I have here where I live near the beach, and I have this need to go to the beach every day. And it really feels like a physical need, like I need to go. And as soon as I get there, I think there's something that happens where that I've heard that where the ocean hits the shore, there's negative ions or something like that that are released. But I feel that shift, and it does feel like a need. Of course, living in Taramandala, you're living in that, in nature, which I did for 25 years. But here I live, in the city, so to speak, but then the beach is there. So do you know anything specifically about the beach or about the ocean and that effect?
What you described has been shown with research. There are more ions in a forest, for example, especially if there's a waterfall, especially if there's been fresh rainfall. And so the beach, yes, the same. So the air is different, and those sounds, the rhythmic sounds, there are the odors that we're probably evolutionarily tied to think of as safety and ease. And it's interesting to me, Lama, that I know you have a very dedicated, ritualized daily practice, and that yet you still need nature. And you're just good for all of us to hear. It's a valid need. We should be less nature deprived and really having that as part of our routine. And I know, as long as I've known you, you have always chosen, if we do any activity, you're taking me to blooms in the botanical gardens or the beach to see turtles, or it's always nature.
Yeah, that's true. When I traveled, and for example, in 2018, I did a book tour and I took 45 different flights. And what just bubbled up for me to do was to find water and sit with water and do this practice called integration with water, where you just look at it. And I found oceans, I found lakes, I found streams. Like I could pretty much always find water. And then you look at it, and then you dissolve the boundary between yourself and the water. So there's no journey to the water. The water's not journeying to you. It's a complete field. And you rest in that. You integrate with it. There's a Tibetan word called jor, which means to join with. And so I would do that. And I would just put my phone on 10 minutes or 15 or 20 or whatever I had. So I could let go of like, should I end this now or should I keep going? I'm going to do 10 minutes. And whoever I was with, my assistants or people who were hosting me, we would do it together. And it was like a thread that in all that travel and all those cities and so on, it brought me home again, because nature is home.
And we've lost our home, so many of us. I mean, I live in the city. It is home. And it has such a powerful effect, partly because it's coming at all of our sensory gates and our bodies responding to it. And so as long as we don't get in our way, holding on to rumination, etc., we can really let it dissolve stress for us.
Mm-hmm.
I like what Bodhi San Juan just wrote. Find water, sit with water, dissolve and rest.
Yeah, that's a really simple way of explaining what I just talked about integration. It's wonderful and so important. And I know a lot of the people listening today are in cities, but luckily most cities do have parks, and some have really big, amazing parks, and some are smaller, but even just being able to go somewhere where there's some trees and try integrating with a tree. One of the things that has been exciting to me in the last year is to discover that the first Buddhist goddesses were tree spirits called yakshinis. Those are the first. That was before Tara, before Prajnaparamita. The earliest reference to goddesses in Buddhism is trees. And the Bodhi tree that the Buddha was enlightened under, some scholars feel this was actually a Yakshini shrine. Mm-hmm. And so to find a tree and to connect to the spirit of the tree could be just a little tree on the road, it doesn't matter. But when you join with that tree, there's something that happens inside. And so I think even if people are in cities and far from oceans, or maybe not near any body of water that they could meditate with, there's always something that you can find that would bring you home in that way. And if not, you can have a house plant, and those also bring a lot into your home. So this is wonderful, Elissa, and I love how practical this new book is. And I think it's a great combination, the Telomere Effect, which was a New York Times bestseller and really has had an impact in the world. And then this one of sort of like, okay, now let's take that piece of like, how do we do this out? And here's some very practical ways you can do it. And I'm so excited. It's coming out the 27th of December. So I imagine in terms of all your stresses and so on, it's all getting ready for the book launch. And we can also pre-order it already. I looked at Amazon and saw that you could. So that's exciting too. And you're actually right now reading it for Audible, right? So
yes, I am. Thank you. Thank you for your support. It's fun to read because I've been trying to practice what I preach and be present for the words and feel things. Yeah. And so, and that's how I feel when I'm with you, Lama. You are feeling things and sharing them, so that when I haven't noticed the yakshinis and dakinis, but when you point them out and you're touching leaves and you're hugging trees, it just opens up it gets rid of the barriers, so that for me and people around you, I have seen them, I have felt them, I have had my own sensory gates opened, and we can do that for each other. I just love being with you, and you do that for me, and I'm so grateful.
Yeah, and by the way, everyone, we're going to be together in Costa Rica teaching together with Jack Cornfield and Daniel Siegel, and also Carolyn Welch and
Trudy.
Trudy, yes. And what are the dates of that retreat? January
8th to 15th.
Yeah. Blue Spirit Retreat Center, Costa Rica.
And Shelley Harrell, thank you for putting that in the chat. It's a big group, and it's a small little, eco retreat center. So it's very modest, and we love being there every year. If any of you can join us.
And it's nice because we kind of hang out together there. That's where I met Elissa last year, and I met Dan as well. Jack's an old friend of mine, and Trudy also. Anyway, that's a possibility. And we would love to have you more connected to Tara Mandala in the future. And thank you so much for today. And I was wondering, since we have this Giving Thanks Day in the United States coming up on Thursday, if you would end us end our session together today with a little bit of gratitude meditation.
Ah, perfect. I would love to. I have appreciation for a gratitude practice so much. I'm going to give you an example of how it has helped me. We all have situations we can't control, and I have one family situation that creates so much pain and sorrow for feeling the pain, sorrow of someone who I can't help. We can't necessarily help other people's conditions, sufferings, addictions. And it has brought me to the gratitude practice has been an antidote to feelings of, I wish things were different. I wish I could change things. Seeing what I want to change shifts to seeing what I have, to seeing what we have, to seeing the true bare eudaimonic purpose in life, the essence of purpose, relationships, love, support. So that's the gratitude practice has brought me to just those core fundamentals of what matters versus the, really getting rid of like the materialistic, oh, wouldn't it be nice? Da, da. So what do I do for gratitude practice? The research suggests that just writing down what you're grateful for has a huge mood lifting effect, but we can also make it social. We can actually express gratitude to someone else. And you might do that right now. You might text someone, and rather than just, I'm grateful for you, which is lovely, expressing exactly what it is that they did or said or what being that helps you, that has brought you some ease, that has helped you on a particular day, etc. It's the specificity that can actually be really meaningful to people. So let's have some 5 minutes together, or we have 3 minutes together of gratitude practice. So let's sit back in our chairs. Lean back if you wish. And take some relaxed, slow breaths. For this practice, it does help to let ourselves have hands on heart, cheeks, thighs, something where we can just feel our body. And I'd like you to think of something big or small that you're grateful for today, right now. And just let your mind freely wander with this list, whatever pops up, something you feel appreciation for. Not something you worked hard for, but something that exists and you are grateful for. It could be comfort, having a home, coffee, someone that you love, feeling loved by someone. Something a stranger did. A kind act, small but noticed. With so much pain in the world, it's easy to forget the goodness that happens right in front of us and how much goodness we can do with our small acts. Let yourself feel appreciation and gratitude. As you breathe in, let it fill your heart. Let it radiate. Radiate beyond you to all of us. No barriers, no end. This beautiful miracle of being alive right now together, I am grateful for. Gratitude is something we can really use in a moment. It's just a game shifter. People use it in the middle of the night. Listing things you're grateful for kind of rules out feeling anxious insomnia and rumination. Waking up and thinking of something you're looking forward to is another way to really focus us on the joy in our day. And then, of course, some people do a gratitude query at night before bed. List 3 things you're grateful for. So I wish that for you, that you let yourself focus on glasses half full, on something you're grateful for, and let your body and your cells be filled with that beautiful feeling of what we have and what we can cherish and savor. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, and be sure to include in whatever you do that day a gratitude circle with the people you gather with. And even if you're just having a picnic somewhere and you're not doing a big thing, actually express gratitude, because to me, that's a beautiful thing to have a day dedicated to gratitude. And sometimes I feel like in this country, it just gets caught up in food and football. So let's find ourselves in gratitude. And I'm in gratitude right now for you and for our friendship and deep connection. And thank you also, Drimé, for what you're doing for Taramandala, and just wishing everyone a beautiful holiday season. We'll be continuing to meet every Sunday, and I look forward to that solstice ritual and ceremony that we'll do actually on the solstice. I believe it's so important to actually mark these times on the earth with ceremony. All cultures have done it. We need to do it. So lots of love, everyone, and thank you, Elissa.
Thank you so much. Such an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lama Tsultrim and Dr. Epel. Thank you for sharing all these findings with us and being in meditation together. I hope we will be able to meet again and learn even more very soon. Thank you so much, and I can't wait for the release of the stress prescription. Thank you. And thank you, dear community, for being with us today. You are invited to join us next week for the Lama Life event with Taramandala senior teacher Carla Jackson Brewer. It will be fantastic, I'm sure. And now I'd like to remind you that you can make a dana offering in gratitude to Lama Tsultrim for our time together today. And I hope you noticed the PayPal link I posted in the chat. Dana means generosity. Dating back to the time of the Buddha, there has always existed an interdependence between those who offer the teachings and those who receive them. Thank you so much, everyone. May we meet again and again on the path, and may all beings benefit everywhere.
Om tare tu re, Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha. Om tare tu re, tare tu re